guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 24th, I think, 26th. I missed a couple days. Yesterday was a really big day for us. Today is the 26th of January, 2020.
All right, guys, so I got a lot of news. I'm not exactly sure where I want to start here because I got a lot to cover.
Let's go to the coronavirus.
Okay, so update on the corona.
And I do have that video if you want. I have a couple of different videos.
So I gotta, because China is so locked down on what they allow out
on the internet.
I'm gonna have to give you some conspiracy theory because a lot of it is being covered up. I think that I have a video. I don't know if Michelle says the one of a nurse saying that there are currently about 100,000 victims of this.
90,000.
90,000. So go ahead and play that. This is from a nurse supposedly out of China. I cannot independently verify this. But if this is true, we're looking at a plague.
A plague that they're playing down.
Crazy.
各位长辈们，我是金慧。
Here, I want to just, there are a lot of people that listen to our show, so I'm going to read this out loud and I'm going to mute her voice just so that if you guys are listening, you can hear what she says.
Yeah, but you need to kind of hear a little bit of it so you can hear her,
let me play
her emotion.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Twice.
各位长辈们，
Dear friends, my name is Jinhui.
我是金慧。我目前
I am currently at the infected
这个疫区，
Henku district in Wuhan. Let me brief you on the current
向大家汇报一下目前
situation of Hubei province in China.
甚至全国的疫情情况。现在
So far, more than 90,000
已经
people
有9万多人
have been infected by
这个病
coronavirus.
毒的传染
What is the
频率是
infection
多少
rate?
呢？就是一个
Without immediate quarantine or
传
effective
染之
treatment,
后，如果说他没有被有效的隔离的话，或者说进行有效的治疗的话，
well,
它会传染到
one infected person can pass the virus to 14 more nearby. The infection rate is extremely high.
现在正值春节
Now is the Chinese New Year holiday season.
天南地北
Family members, friends, sons, and
亲
daughters
戚朋友、子女都往家里赶，
are all on their way, rushing home for a family reunion,
在一起
for a family dinner together.
团年饭。现在情况不
However,
错
this is a grave moment.
我希望大
I
家
urge you not to go out, do not attend any party,
不要聚会，不要聚餐。
do not visit anyone.
春节年年有，
There is always another Chinese New Year,
只要人平安，
as long as you stay safe and well.
大家
We have many opportunities to catch up.
随时随地的在一起。
So there's that, and then I have some not another video, but other nurses saying I'm tired, I can't do this anymore.
Doctors, even.
Doctors who are passing out. Here's a
Because
article.
they're working them around the clock, and because it's a communist country, they don't get a choice.
5 million potential carriers have left Wuhan as coronavirus appears to mutate into more transmissible form. I have some pictures. I'm not sure how accurate they are of people putting roadblocks, big giant trees, stones, anything to keep people in Wuhan and not to leave. But over the weekend, there were numerous media reports published in hopes of easing fears that the coronavirus spread was uncontained and informing the general public just how seriously China takes its quarantine of no less than 17 cities and roughly 60 million people. The AFP, according to the police, at a roadblock on the outskirts of Wuhan, turned away cars trying to leave the virus-stricken epicenter. On Saturday, as other anxious residents trapped inside spent the Lunar New Year stocking up on masks and medical supplies, authorities have prevented anyone from leaving Wuhan. You've got 11 million people in there. The death toll is up, I believe, at 56. That's the reported deaths. The barricade at one of the tolls for the highway exiting the city was blocked with red and blue plastic barriers and cones. Nobody can leave. But but there is just one problem. The much needed quarantine and lockdown were far too late because Wuhan's mayor revealed on Sunday during a press conference about 5 million residents had already left. Now, I don't know if Michelle has a map. There are confirmed cases in France, confirmed cases in the United States. These people made it here from Wuhan.
Right.
Which is
There's 3 cases in the United
Wuhan,
States.
I realize it's a city of 11 million people, but the fact that people from Wuhan are in the United States and they're sick, that means the infection rate is pretty high.
Yeah.
if the people from Wuhan here, you got a couple, 3 or 4 of them that are already here that are sick.
Yeah.
That means the infection rate is reaching a large portion of people in the city, and that those who are traveling out with the sickness, and they didn't know that they had it.
And let me, before I pull up the map here, let me get to this article that a friend of ours shared with us, that the coronavirus spreads before symptoms even show. A new coronavirus that has spread more than 2,000 people. This person reported that it was 90, is infectious in its incubation period. So sometimes when you get a cold, that's what the incubation period is called,
right.
and you're not showing symptoms.
Right.
It's the time that you caught it, and it's kind of growing inside of you. Now it is contagious before symptoms even show, making
right.
it harder to contain, Chinese officials say.
Right.
So that is something. Now let me open up this map here. I'm not sure how current this one is, but it still does give you an idea of where we're seeing these specific cases.
Chinese official also warned that the virus' ability to spread was getting stronger. And in the worst possible news for China, the minister, Mao Zewei, the minister in charge of the National Health Commission, told a press conference that battling the outbreak had become especially complicated after it was discovered that the new virus could be transmitted even during, as Michelle just said, the incubation period, which did not happen with SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome. In other words, as many of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of coronavirus carriers quietly fled. Hey, they did their little test you for your fever. You don't have a fever, you get to go. And may have infected as many as 3 or 4 people each, depending on the RO of the virus. They're saying the RO for the common flu is like 1.3. But they're raising that to like a 3 or 4 almost. So it's just crazy.
So hang on really quickly, because I want to get to this while I thought about it. Leah, what are some things that we in our family do? Because I don't want there to be fear. Wherever you are around the world, there are things that you can do to protect your system.
Antibacterial hand wash because, and the little bottles that you carry around, because that takes away good bacteria. In a time like this, you've got to be religious about it. You cannot eat, you cannot touch your face without washing your hands. That is the biggest, that's the biggest care. You've got to be able to make sure everything that you touch, like I went to the hospital with Uncle Jack, and I really think that might be where I picked up the sickness. I don't know, but I'm in a hospital, and probably all those other people ran their course with the sickness. I touched a cup. I touched an ice maker.
No matter if you touch anything, you need to wash your hands before you eat or before you touch your eyes.
Exactly. You've got to, and carrying around the little alcohol thing.
Now we use
my favorite
thieves oil.
Is thieves oil.
It does far better than antibacterial stuff.
Absolutely. But you got to use it with a carrier oil if you want to put it on your hands.
Right.
Diffuse it in your house. Nobody else in my house got sick. Michelle and I got sick
because we took extreme measures after we got sick.
Yeah, but we also we share a toothpaste.
It could have been, yeah.
And we share like a bathroom. We're a little bit more close, I guess, than we are to everybody else. But the good news is that nobody else in my house got sick because we diffused the thieves oil constantly.
You can literally wear your thieves oil around, like put it on your neck or whatever.
And then you're going to keep yourself from getting other people sick.
Where does it come from? The bubonic plague and these grave robbers never got sick. And it's because that's why it's called thieves oil, because they had the three.
I think it's I don't even know what's in it. It's like
clove, cinnamon, lemon, and a couple others.
And that combination, that thieves oil has been shown to be more effective
than bleach,
Lysol.
Yeah,
it's God's nature. God has a way.
Now, to protect your immune system itself, sugar weakens your immune system.
Yeah, don't eat any sugar.
Don't eat. If you're afraid, if you're in an area where you think you might, don't eat any sugar at all.
You want to be drinking
bone broth,
and
like
lemon
just
juice.
Get a chicken, put it in the crock pot or boil it, and drink that broth.
Elderberry strengthens your immune system.
Elderberry syrup is amazing.
Everybody should go get some 80 proof vodka. Don't drink it. And a bag of dried elderberries, and you should have that sitting in your closet. You mix that with honey. You strain it, and then you mix that with honey. Kind of warm the honey a little bit.
Take like 2 tablespoons
you don't
of
want
this
to kill the alcohol
concoction a day.
Well, Well, take it about a tablespoon at a time, or a tincture worth. If you're going to tincture it, some people don't use it with the alcohol. I feel like it's stronger with the alcohol tincture. You can do it as a syrup with just. Some people do sugar water. I think that's crazy stupid. You don't want to be having it with sugar. We found that we tried it with a sugar water. With this elderberry, it was not as strong as the honey vodka.
So, disclaimer, we're not medical professionals. This is what we do to strengthen our own immune systems. Yeah. And the elderberry syrup is shown to be antiviral.
Yeah.
As well as honey. If you get real raw honey, it's antiviral. And the thieves oil, they literally have done scientific tests that it kills germs better than bleach and Lysol.
And we do that, like during Christmas and stuff like that. We were wearing the thieves oil wherever we went, buying presents and stuff like that. And we just didn't when we went to the hospital. I don't know what was it not even thinking?
Because we were really preoccupied.
Yeah. So anyways.
Now, I caught my sickness before I even went to the hospital. So who knows where I got it from.
Yeah.
Just been on a day where I wasn't using the thieves oil.
We might even have two different things. We don't know.
My point is, I don't want you to be afraid. There are things that you can do to strengthen your immune system. The bone broth is huge. Take it every single day. Cutting down on sugar, that's also huge. Like these little things to just strengthen your immune system so that should you contract it, A, you're already going to have a leg up on fighting it, and B, it might help your body to literally combat it and not contract it.
A couple summaries. The fourth case in the U.S. has been confirmed in Los Angeles. So far, 2,082 cases, 56 official deaths. We know that number is way higher. Incubation is asymptomatic, contagious, and can be as long as 14 days. 5 million people have left Wuhan for Lunar New Year. First case was December 1st, not December 31st, so infective population may be bigger. U.S., Russia, Thailand have begun plans for evacuation of their citizens from Wuhan. Premier Li Qiang is charged with leading the government task force. 3 Beijing hospitals. Did China steal coronavirus from Canada and weaponize it?
So, I believe 1055 on Periscope says, until this is gone, I advise people now not to get items off the internet sent from China.
Oh,
that's not a bad idea, and I hadn't even thought of it. And you know what? Not kidding.
Last year, mysterious shipment was caught smuggling coronavirus from Canada. It was believed that the whole bat thing is a cover-up. Biological warfare lab in all of China is 20 miles
from the outbreak.
Where this was stolen from Canada.
Where's my shirt? I had it yesterday. It's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth.
And so
if
I
it
believe
looks like a duck.
They're like, okay, we got to tell people.
It quacks like a duck.
Okay, we have to tell people something.
We're going to have to admit that we do eat bats and put this picture out of this girl eating the bats. Alex Jones said it first. He literally said, I remember I was watching his segment and he pointed at that. He said the bat thing and he shoved it aside. He said, that is a distraction. This is the chemical biological warfare thing. And you and I were kind of biting the bait because it's nasty. Don't eat bats. I mean, come on.
Well, because I still feel like
it could be coming. Here's the deal. They could have gotten it. There could be an element of truth. When they're making this all together, they could have gotten it from the bats, which is why it would make an easy link if somebody were to try to break it down scientifically.
Well, as somebody said, maybe they sold an animal from the lab.
Exactly.
In the market.
It might not even be a conspiracy. It could just be
somebody trying to make money.
Somebody trying to make money, like, off of this thing. You don't want it, but why do we have biological warfare labs? Like, I mean, seriously. You know, so we've got one, so China has one, so the UK has one, so France has one. So, I mean, it's like everybody has biological warfare, like, weaponized. This is bad idea because guess what, people? There's one thing. You can drop a bomb, Hiroshima's gone, bye-bye Hiroshima, okay? But if you unleash a biological weapon on society with all the airplanes that we have and the traveling that people do, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt.
So in 2012, a 60-year-old Saudi man was admitted to a private hospital in Saudi Arabia with a fever and cough and shortness of breath. And so the doctors there went to a doctor in the Netherlands and said, what do you think about this? Frotier sequenced the virus from a sample sent by Zaki, the guy in Saudi Arabia. Frotier is the Netherlands doctor. Used a broad-spectrum pan-coronavirus real-time polymerase chain reaction method to test for distinguishing features for a number of known coronaviruses known to infect humans. This coronavirus sample was acquired by scientific doctor Dr. Frank Plumer of Canada's National Microbiology Laboratory in Winnipeg, directly from Frotier. who received it from Zaki. This virus was reportedly stolen from the Canadian lab by Chinese agents. This guy in Saudi Arabia got it. They sent a sample to the Netherlands. The Netherlands sent a sample to Canada, and then supposedly that particular thing was stolen. The coronavirus arrived at Canadians' NML Winnipeg facility on May 4th, 2013 from the Dutch lab. The Canadian lab grew up stocks of the virus and used it to assess diagnostic tests being used in Canada. Winnipeg scientists work to see which animal species can be infected with the new virus. Guys, I can't imagine having a job. Oh, here, give me a marmot. Give me a monkey. I want to see if they get sick. Oh, are you sick? I could not do that to an animal. I don't even care about with human research. I could not do that to an animal. I just could not do it. Research was done in conjunction with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's National Lab, the National Center for Foreign Animal Diseases, which is housed in the same complex as the National Microbiology Laboratory. The NML has a long history of offering comprehensive testing services for coronaviruses. It isolated and provided the first genome sequence of the SARS coronavirus and identified another coronavirus in 2004. This Winnipeg-based Canadian lab was targeted by Chinese agents in what could be termed biological espionage. In March 2019, in mysterious events, a shipment of exponentially virulent viruses from Canada's NML ended up in China.
Wow.
The event caused a major scandal, with biowarfare experts questioning why Canada was sending lethal viruses to China. Scientists from NLM said the highly lethal viruses were a potential bioweapon. Following investigation, the incident was traced to Chinese agents working at NML. They're everywhere, guys. They're like, commies are in it. 4 months later, in July 2019, a group of Chinese virologists were forcibly dispatched from the Canadian National Microbiome America, equipped to handle the world's deadliest diseases. And we got commies from China in there stealing them, ready to send them around the world.
It's unreal. Okay, so somebody was asking in the chat. I went ahead and put my directions for the bone broth in the chat, and I was going to put a link to the thieves oil somewhere, but here's the deal. We do Young Living, but we also get our oils when we can from other. You can just go on Amazon. I know I'm saying this stuff's not going to come from China. The brand names that we like for a thieves oil blend would
but they're not called thieves oil. You have to find their blend.
Google thieves oil, THIEVES. Okay, it might be called something else. doTERRA sells it. It's called On Guard. Okay, it's the same thing. The theory behind it goes back to the grave robbers, the thieves. Okay,
and you can find out what's in it and grab the oils, put them together.
Just Google thieves oil, and you can literally go from there. So I would take the time to give it all to you, but I'm just telling you, your answer is go to your Google box, enter thieves oil, try and find a brand name that we just listed, whether it is the expensive ones, which you don't need to do, is Young Living, doTERRA, but we like plant therapy and other
by the
now.
Governor General's Innovation Awards.
This work can't be done without teamwork.
She and the team at the National Microbiology Lab have been praised for developing an Ebola vaccine. But just over a week ago, Chu, her husband, and her students from China were evicted from Canada's only Level 4 lab, their security access revoked. Staff at the lab was told last Monday the couple is on leave and not to communicate with them.
We're getting this from sources who work at the lab, but who don't want to be identified for fears they'll be punished. They say this is coming just months after IT specialists entered Chu's office after hours and replaced her computer.
Where is she?
She's wearing short sleeves.
No, this is an old video telling how these doctors were kicked out of the lab.
I missed that. I was talking about the thieves oil.
Right.
Okay.
Manitoba RCMP confirmed it was called in by the Public Health Agency of Canada on May 24th. A spokesperson says the agency is investigating a policy breach, calling it an administrative matter, and it's taking steps to resolve it expeditiously. We can assure Canadians that there is no risk to the public and that the work of the NML continues in support of the health and safety of all Canadians.
Well, we can't say that for the Chinese.
But even microbiology, sometimes especially microbiology, can have issues that involve national security.
It's something CSIS has already warned about.
Canada is facing threats from foreign espionage, and not just in the traditional sense of trying to understand what our national security interests are and agencies are involved with, but threats to our economic security.
Canada's relationship with China has been strained ever since the detention of a Huawei executive on a U.S. arrest warrant. Shortly after, China detained 2 Canadians.
So that's a particular woman who was evicted, basically, but they're not telling anybody what she did to get evicted. She was supposedly she received her medical doctorate degree from a university in China in '85 and came to Canada in '96. And then she helped, work at this high level lab for years. But a shift took place somehow in 2006. She has been studying powerful viruses in Canada's NML. The viruses shipped from the NML to China were studied by her in 2014. So obviously she is a communist. She was a communist infiltrator. She's married to another Chinese scientist who is also affiliated with the NML, specifically the Science of Technology Corps. He is a primary bacteriologist who shifted to virology. The couple is responsible for infiltrating Canada's MML with many Chinese agents as students from a range of Chinese scientific facilities directly tied to China's biological warfare program.
Oh my gosh!
Namely, the Institute of Military Veterinarian and the Academy of Military Medical Services, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Institute for Microbiology, Wuhan Institute for Biology. The Wuhan Institute for Biology.
Now, okay, so wait,
let me finish.
Okay.
All of the above aforementioned Chinese biological warfare facilities collaborated with Dr. Jinggu Qiu, I don't know how to say it, this is this woman, within the context of the Ebola virus. The Institute of Military Veterinary joined a study on the Rift Valley fever virus also, while the Institute of Microbiology joined a study on Marburg virus. Noticeably, the drug used in the later study, favipiravir, has been earlier tested successfully by the Chinese Academy of Military Medical Sciences against Ebola. However, the studies by Dr. Zhu are considerably more advanced and apparently vital for the Chinese biological weapons development in the case of coronavirus, Ebola, Nipah, and Marburg, or the Rift Valley fever viruses. The Canadian investigation is ongoing, and questions remain whether the previous shipments to China of other viruses or other essential preparations took place from 2006 to 2018. Dr. Zhu, I don't know how to say her name, also collaborated in 2018 with 3 scientists from the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases in Maryland studying post-exposure immunotherapy for 2 Ebola viruses and Marburg virus in monkeys, a study supported by the U.S. Defense Threat Reduction Agency. The Wuhan coronavirus, right? Here's the key. Dr. Zhu, I don't know how to say her name, made at least 5 trips over the school year from 2017 to 2018 to the above-mentioned Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, which was certified as this level 4, where you can only do the highest level of biological warfare work in virology, in January 2017. Moreover, in August 2017, the National Health Commission of China approved research activities involving Ebola, Nipah, and the Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever viruses at the Wuhan facility. Coincidentally, the Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory is located
20 miles.
20 miles from the Wuhan seafood market, which is the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. The Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory is housed at the Chinese military facility, Wuhan Institute of Virology, linked to the Chinese biological warfare program. It was the first ever lab in the country designated to meet that biosafety level 4 standards, the highest biohazard level in the world. January 2018, the lab was operational for global experiments on BSL-4 pathogens. After a laboratory leak incident of SARS in 2004, the former Ministry of Health of China initiated the construction of this new one. It's supposed to keep it. SARS got let out. And they're trying to tell us this was not a leak. Coronavirus bioweapon. The Wuhan Institute has studied coronaviruses in the past, including the strain that causes the SARS, Japanese encephalitis, and researchers at the institute also studied the germ that causes anthrax. The coronaviruses particularly stars, have been studied in the institute and are probably held therein. And so James Gorando, a neurology professor at Georgetown University and senior fellow at the biowarfare at the U.S. Special Operations Command, said China's growing investment in bioscience, looser ethics around gene editing, and other... Dude, they're doing the whole pig chimera thing. You think, come on, guys. They have no morals.
They have to practice it on pigs because that's how they make sure that it can transmit to humans.
They trying to weaponize these things and be weaponized. That could mean an offensive agent or a modified germ let loose by proxies for which only China has the treatment or vaccine. Ha ha ha! Making money, making dough. This
what
is
I'm
like
confused
more
about,
powerful
though,
than
I'm not
nuclear
disagreeing
warfare.
with you, but what is confusing to me is why release it on your own people? Why not release it somewhere else?
This is not warfare per se, but what it's doing is leveraging the capability to act as a global savior, which then creates various levels of macro, microeconomic, and biopower dependencies. I'm going to finish this and I'll answer your question. In 2015, academic paper Shoham asserts that more than 40 Chinese facilities are involved. So this is probably not the only one in the bioweapon production. So I'm going to end with that. You guys get what's going on. Why would they release it? I don't think it is. Maybe it's not purposeful. Maybe they're maybe they want to leak it out to the world. Hey, we have these capabilities. Maybe this is, a threat to Donald Trump at a level like China doesn't care about his people.
I know.
They wrap women up and rip their uteruses out like pigs, dude. They don't care about their people. You really think China cares this tiny bit about its people?
But I'm just saying, like,
The
let's say
Chinese,
you work
the
at the
upper
lab in
echelon
Wuhan,
people.
right? And you're party to this getting released. Like,
Listen, I don't think that they... Listen, the stuff we get from China is low grade. I think that they have a lot of smarts, but they don't have ethics. So...
No, I'm just saying, if I'm working at the lab and I know it's going to get released, the chances of me contracting it are high.
But I think that it might be one of those times where maybe you're overworked. Maybe you were lazy. Maybe you didn't have the protocol. Maybe you've seen the movies.
So you're wavering between accident and on purpose.
I think it's... I know that stuff I get from China breaks.
Right.
I know that ethically and morally they don't have a good work ethic.
You're still wavering between accidental and on purpose.
Let me finish my sentence. I know that I'm trying to give you a scenario from a movie. You're working with a virus. Let's say you get a cut in your glove. We're working with the coronavirus. It gets on you on accident. And you go outside and you don't tell anybody. You cover it because if you...
That's still an accident, though.
Yeah,
that's not purposeful, going back to the Chinese government did this on purpose because they don't care about their people.
No, but it is. What I mean is they're bringing it over. They don't care. I believe that they have very... in your brain, you don't have... If you don't have the ability to go to your boss and say, I made a mistake without them punishing you and killing you,
but
putting
that's
you in
still
jail.
not the government doing it so that they can come up with
Why does it have to be the government doing it?
No, I'm not. I'm saying we gave two scenarios. You're still, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying we want to make it clear that we aren't stating one way or the other what happened. It either could be that the government did it on purpose and released it.
The logical thing is that the government has all these viruses, wants to work in biowarfare.
Yeah.
And I've seen enough movies, I'm not basing everything on
movies.
And
that this specific time it accidentally got out.
I'm saying that at a level 4 facility, you have to make sure everything's perfect, but people aren't perfect.
Right, exactly.
And you can't contain these things. They think they can. Mm-hmm. And if there's any place in the world that's not going to contain it, it's going to be China. They've already let it out because you don't have an internal ethics system.
So on Periscope, Ian says the black market, the underground, has probably got the agenda to cause the chemical weapons in China. ? Does China want to reduce the world's population? Just wondering. I guess they definitely could be part of the globalist agenda. Faith, Hope, and Love says China stole viruses from the U.S. and the cures too. Refocus Zone says this is a similar repeat of Lyme disease released from U.S. War Department, Plum Island, New York. And that's the thing, Leah. Regardless of this specific thing, whether it's China or the United States has biological warfare weapon labs. Canada obviously has these biological warfare weapon labs. I think they are all wrong. I think they should all be shut down. I do not think that we should be researching these viruses. Now, I get that they all say that they are researching these viruses in case somebody else releases it and they have a cure.
Okay, I'm going to move on to some happy news because we have Brexit coming, and I really don't think this is a threat to anybody, honestly, outside of China too much. And I think that the world governments are doing a good job of anybody who's coming in from these areas, isolating them, letting the disease. This is not Ebola. You're not going to be bleeding from the eyes. It's a horrible respiratory disease. But we have, there are tons of antibiotics out there, antiviral things. You get to a hospital and that's not overwhelmed, and you can probably ride it through. So I don't want you to freak out about it. But at the same time, it's a really good thing to actually put a bullseye and a spotlight on just how bad China is. And every time we can show how bad China is, it takes away their power.
Yeah.
And I got the anointing all over me. We have got to bring down the Chinese communist government in the power of God in the spiritual realm to set these people free. They are under a totalitarian government that hog-ties them, sterilizes them, takes their organs out. The medical things that the Chinese government does to these people is wrong. Ethics. And in the power of God, in the name of Jesus Christ, you're going to see more and more of this in 2020 because I believe that the gospel of Jesus Christ is going to set people free. What is the gospel that I could say to the Chinese people? Okay? I won't talk so loud. The gospel that I can give to the Chinese people is that somebody stole your land and ruined your country. Who cares if they were peasants living on a countryside? They were full. They had bellies that were full. They had clothes. They had clean water. Now Chinese government has destroyed their environment. Plastics everywhere. You want to know why we're plasticized? That's mostly China. Yeah. China is polluting the world. We talk about, nobody wants to go to China and say, hey, you're really damaging our whole entire planet, right? It's a spirit of death, and it is affecting the entire world. And so I have been praising God because for the past year or two, I have been wanting to cover China. Well, guess what? Now I get to cover it.
So, okay,
in different ways, but I didn't finish my thought. My thought was the gospel for the Chinese people is so simple. And what I would tell them is that Jesus Christ died on the cross to reconcile the world back to him, back to cleanliness, back to a clean environment. He also proclaimed the year of Jubilee. And that is when you get your land back. And when you read all the prophecies of Jesus, he says, I'm going to set up Mount Zion. I'm going to give you your own land. I'm going to give you your own land. You're going to have rivers that flow. You're going to have trees that produce fruit. You're going to have animals that are healthy. And when people grasp the gospel from Poland to China to Australia, that's what happens. We heal the environment. That is why we want people to back away from technology a little bit, because you can see how it's damaging to the environment. But when I look at that giant continent of Asia and you look at the country of China, that's a lot of land. And there's more. They say, oh, there's too much people. There's too many people. You do not have overpopulation. You put everybody in the stinking cities, you idiots. Right? There is more than enough land.
China's huge.
There's more than enough land for everybody to have a good 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 acres. I mean, look at China and do the math, right? You can put everybody on a nice little farm. Jesus wants you to bring down the Chinese government, the power of God, and get your land back. Your Jubilee. And that's the gospel that I'm going to be preaching. If God ever sends me to China, that's what I'm going to be preaching. Get your land back. God wants your land back. God wants your land back. You need to be a landowner. You need to be your own business owner. You can heal it. You can be the rice farmer again. The Chinese government, Chairman Mao, literally tore down people's houses. He took rice farmers who've been doing it for like centuries and was like, no, I don't want you running your own farm. Took those rice farmers who knew how to farm rice, put them somewhere else, put his own guy running the rice farms, and that's why everybody starved. And I don't even think people in the West understand. But Chinese government took them out of starvation. They starved. Chairman Mao didn't bring them out of starvation. He put them in starvation. People were fine before Chairman Mao.
Okay, we have a lot to cover. My last question here is,
okay.
On our show, we have to analyze every conspiracy theory. We haven't, it just hit me like, okay, so we were covering Hong Kong a lot. And China is terrified about what's happening in Hong Kong.
Do you think this is a distraction?
I don't know.
Oh, man, you could be right.
I don't know.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Martinson, CEO of Peak Prosperity, and I'm here with a really important message for you about the coronavirus, the Wuhan virus that's come through, the new...
I'm going to play a snippet of this. I don't know if you can put it in the history and put it in the
virus
description.
That has been sweeping the world. We've been on top of this right from the get-go. Unfortunately, if you've been reading the news, you have been either underinformed or in many cases misinformed about what this virus really is. It's a very serious thing. Now, before I go on, just so you know, I have my PhD from Duke University. It's from the Department of Pathology. My specialty was toxicology. So I've studied all of these things. No, I'm not a practicing doctor right now, but yes, I do understand how these things work. And unfortunately, again, the World Health Organization, the CDC, they're very cautious, sort of bureaucratic organizations. This is a fast-moving situation. So I'm here to cut through the noise and give you the information you really need. To get more updates, please come by Peak Prosperity, and you can get a lot of a little deeper and get some good advice on what they can do. That word down for you, corona, it means crown. And the reason they call it that is if you looked at one of these virus particles under an electron microscope, it kind of looks, it's all spiky, so it looks like it's wearing a crown. That's the coronavirus. And this one's particularly dangerous because it's only been a month since it's been on our radar screen. It was about mid-December when China first noticed this coronavirus, very quiet about it. It wasn't until the 31st of December before an official notification went out to the World Health Organization. And gosh, already we're seeing 40 million people now quarantined in their cities in China. It's a really serious thing. Now, why? The first thing you need to understand is this is kind of reads like a spy thriller, novel that you might read about a pandemic. Why? Because the things that really confer that dangerousness to a new virus is, one, the human species has not seen it before, so we haven't had a chance to deal with it. So we don't have this thing called herd immunity. None of us have antibodies to this coronavirus. So when it comes out into a population with no natural immunity, it tends to sweep through very vigorously. The second thing is this is a cross-species jump. They've already done the DNA sequencing on it, discovered this is a bat virus that went through a snake, picks up some snake virus bits, and now it's crossed into humans. That makes it especially dangerous for a pandemic. Then you need two other factors in there. On average, would get that. If you have an R not greater than 1, meaning I have a chance, on average, of walking in a room full of 10 and one other person catches it, that's enough to sustain transmission. An R naught of less than 1, this thing will die out on its own over time. But anything over 1 is a concern. It's thought that this has an R naught of somewhere between 1.5 and 2.4. So this really has a chance to spread and spread pretty strongly. The second big thing we need to know is that this is pretty lethal. The people who've described what is happening, a healthy 23-year-old read this full account about what his experience was, just got laid low. Like imagine the worst flu you've had times 2, really touch and go with strong medical support. This person pulled through. But we're finding that people who are a little bit older and the very young, of course, as usual, are prone to really having catastrophic outcome. This thing has a case fatality rate of around 3%, but we won't know how high it is until all is said and done. I think it looks like early data. It's coming in.
So Michelle put that link in there. You guys can go watch the rest and kind of get up to snuff on
But it's like we said, the reason why I wanted to talk about how to build your immune system is to bring peace, because the whole idea, regardless of whether this was intentional or unintentional, everybody takes advantage of the opportunity to scare.
Yeah.
They love fear mongering. They love putting people into panic modes. Okay. Yeah. So if you can in any way do the things that we suggested to boost your immune system, and then just pray and be at peace and live your life regularly. God does not want you. The Bible says God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind.
Good news, put it on shelves. And so this is the wholesomeness. This is what we want to get back to. This is what we encourage it. We want you to have hope for the future, that it can change.
And you can just start with one thing. Somebody said something yesterday. Listen, if you grow a tomato on your porch or your balcony, you are a farmer.
Yeah.
Start there. That's it. We're not asking you guys to do all of these things that we do. We didn't start. We started with plants on our porch, on our balcony when we lived in an apartment. That is where we started. And now we do all of these things. But it was one thing added upon another thing, added upon another thing.
But
and we allow the Lord to lead us.
Because I'm using grow lights, or I have, a canned good here, there.
Start where you're at and do what you can with what you have.
Allowing the Holy Spirit to lead you and just kind of, let's scale back a little bit.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so we love you guys. God loves you. God bless. We love you guys. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's actually the truth. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Masfaith3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring the bell for notifications. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Patriot Gallery has new blogs that are coming out. I don't know if they're out yet or not, but you can find them on Isaiah58ministries.blogspot.com. I'm sure she'll be recording those soon too, so you can look forward to that. So we love you guys, and we will see you back here on Friday for our Brexit party.
Things you don't hear at Davos, or you don't hear from Greta Thunberg. They're actual ways you can help the planet.
Right.
But you will hear.
All right. God bless, guys.
Let's go.